Let's talk about bubbles, pops or crashes, and what causes them. Let's start from the beginning. The Great Depression, circa somewhere around 1932-ish, caused or evidenced by um, ample credit, heady partying, the roaring 20s. You had a stock market whose prices exceeded earnings potential, very, very heavy prices, and then bow, a crash. Fast forward to the next significant market pop, I'd say that was the dot-com craze, somewhere around, no, Black Monday, 1987. Okay, you had what was considered a roaring economy. You had stock prices that roared until they popped because, again, prices got ahead of earnings potential. Past Black Monday in 1987, you had circa 2000, the dot-com bubble. Again, what was perceived as a strong economy, risky asset prices flying through the roof, significantly surpassing any semblance of reasonable earnings potential, pop, it crashes. After that, you had the credit bubble in what was a wrong economy, leading up to stock market prices, equity prices, far exceeding potential, credible earnings, and pop. It crashed. Ample credit. Let's fast forward to 2020. And you have a virus. This wasn't a man-made bubble bubble pop. This was an act of nature, like a snowstorm. Correct? No. What you had in the 2020 crash is what you had in the 1930, it's the Great Depression market crash. It's what you had in 1987. It's what you had in 2000. It's what you had in 2007, 2008. All risky asset prices. As a matter of fact, the 2020 crash was worse than all of those. All risky asset prices were out of control. Real estate, out of control, right? And already started falling and crashing before the coronavirus. Okay? Stocks, all-time highs. Bonds, all-time highs with yields at all-time lows. Sovereign debt, all-time highs. Municipal debt, private equity, all-time highs. Everything. What is different this time, is you have a very, very, very convenient excuse in COVID-19. Now, I don't want to call it an excuse as if I'm belittling or poo-pooing the importance, because the disease is serious. It's a pandemic. Okay, and there's definitely a reason for a significant economic slowdown, sharp recession, and potentially depression. Okay? Potentially reason. But let's not fool ourselves thinking that we weren't at the top of a bubble that needed to pop. Okay, this just happened to have happened on top of a bubble, where you had interest rates at historic lows, you had Fed balance sheets at historic highs filled with the stuff that they bought from the last pop. You had central banks goosing risky markets worldwide. The ECB's balance sheet is loaded with trash from the last time around. They had negative interest rates. They went into this with negative interest rates. Same thing in Asia. So let's not fool ourselves thinking that once the virus is under control, we go back to normal. Best case scenario, the virus gets under control, the Fed succeeds in blowing another bubble, and they're blowing a bubble on top of the bubble that's already in there. And you know how that's going to end. I doubt if the Fed could succeed in doing that, though. Okay? So, best case scenario, hard worldwide recession. Base case scenario, global depression. Worst case scenario is worse than that. So, what else is specific to this particular crash, slowdown? Well, let's count the ways. We had a bubble, clear bubble, okay? We went through all risky assets. What we also have is more personal lending than we've ever had in the history of this country. We've also had more credit card debt than we've ever had in the history of this country. We've also had more automobile debt, okay, than we've ever had in the history of this country. So last time around it was mortgages. This time around, it's a variety of different debt. Much of this debt has no collateral or has rapidly depreciating collateral. We also have student loan debt, more than we've ever had in the history of this country. Okay, we've also had personal consumption expenditures, the cost of actually living life, that is the highest that it's been that we know of. It has taken out more of the median family's income now than ever that we can think of that's been recorded. That's a long-winded way of saying it's very hard to live off of income because expenses are increasing faster and greater than actual wages are. For a single member median wage earner to support his family, he's underwater instantaneously, which forces him on credit. Okay, double-digit credit puts him deeper and deeper underwater. A two-wage earner median family, a two-wage earner median income family has a very, very thin margin, right, of discretionary income after their expenses. Most of that is blown, which pushes them onto credit card debt. Now, it's actually against the law to work in many states. Most businesses are shut down. We have record unemployment from a record of 600-something thousand per month on a monthly basis, which I think was, 1980s, to 3.2 million, which was released yesterday. Most likely to be adjusted upward, and that's just the very, very beginning. That number is bound to grow. Okay, credit card companies are not going to get paid. Okay, those ABS are going to get locked up. The Fed has vowed for unlimited purchasing power. They're buying stocks of ETFs. You're talking at least $2 trillion, I'd say. They've already offered $1.7 trillion according to my simple math. And then Congress has authorized a $2.2 trillion fiscal spending stimulus. That's on top of the Fed's. And they're also backstopping more of the Fed lending. Okay? The Fed is no longer the bank's banker, lender of last resort. They're now the counterparty of last resort. They're also the buyer of last resort in almost all risky assets. Okay? It can't end positively. Best case scenario, you don't have a market. You just have the Fed, and everything else is downhill from there. So one would think that you'd have significant bank failures, given the fact that you have rampant, extreme unemployment, you have no financial or economic activity or close to none. Businesses are closed, people are home from work, bills can't be paid, and you had a bubble to begin with. And you had NPAs that were building up. Of course, they weren't as reticent as that of the 2007-2008 period, simply because you had significant liquidity sloshing around, but this time it was supported by the central banks. So will there be bank failures? You betcha. About half the banks in the U.S. failed during the Great Depression. If we're actually going to a depression again, think about it. Small banks, medium banks, big banks, Florida, throughout the U.S., Europe, Greece, Spain, Italy, UK, they're all over the place. So, you sign up for your Veritasium research. You need VE assets to access it. Okay? And I will be available in the Telegram chat to answer some limited questions. Okay? Less limited if you're a Veritasium customer, of course.